Cabinet scrapers or card scrapers make a great shortcut to get around using sandpaper to get your wood ready for final finishing. The basic idea behind these is that you hone an edge onto these so that they can function as almost like a plane on the surface of the wood. So using them is pretty simple. The technique involves just running them over the wood while bending them and leaning them forward. We're going to look at that in a minute. The hardest part about them, and the most controversial part, I would say, among woodworkers, is actually how to sharpen them. There's many different methods, and I have one method that works for me. So if you find a method that works for you, stick with it, but I'm going to show you my method. First step is we need to put a flat edge on top of the card. And I have made a little jig here to help out with this. You might want to do this as well, unless you have perfect control of your hands. This helps you keep the card straight and a 90-degree angle. We're just going to file these down. Now, it's hard to know how much filing to do, so one tip I would give you is grab a marker and just put a line. You can do both sides too while we're at it here. Put a line of marker on there so you can see when that disappears, you know you're done. And just file it off. After a few minutes, depending on how flat your card was to begin with, you'll have removed the marker and you know you're ready for the next step. The top is now flat and we want to now level off the sides. In making this top flat on the file, what we've done is we've created a little burr that's hanging over, a little piece of metal that's pushed down over the sides. And we want to get rid of that because it has a very jagged edge on it at this point from the file. Easiest way to do that is use some high grit sandpaper. This is 800 grit on a piece of float glass. And you can actually just do the edge of your card by scraping it. Again, we'll want to gauge your progress. If you don't know, if you've never done this before, how long to rub it on the sandpaper, this will give you a gauge to determine when you're done. And you just go until that marker's disappeared. Doesn't take too long. It's almost gone on this one. So we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, now we've got flattened sides, flattened top. We're ready now to do the burnishing on here. So burnishing is a process where you're applying pressure to the top of the card with a burnisher. A burnisher, all that is basically a piece of harder steel than the card. So it can push down and almost anneal the metal into a burr. Now, when I put this in, I'm putting this only about an inch above the table because that makes a comfortable hand position to rest the burnisher and keep it level. So the first thing we're doing is just keeping the burnisher at 90 degrees to the top as we run it across. To help keep things moving smoothly, we put a little bit of oil on the burnisher and a little bit on the card. We'll use that to lubricate this process. So this takes some elbow grease. You're going to be pushing down pretty hard, and how often or how much to do this and how many times is really dependent on how hard you push. But the goal is to create, like I said before, a little burr that is hanging over the edge, and you'll start to feel one form as you do this work. Okay, the final stroke you want to do on here is to put a 5 to 10 degree angle on this burr. So if you get a good burr formed, you'll feel it. It almost catches your finger as you do that. Just do a couple strokes on an angle, both sides. Then you're ready to pop it out of the vise, and let's try it out. So make sure you get all the oil off. You don't want oil getting into your wood at this point. We're going to bend it back towards you, angle it away from you, the top, and then you're just pushing. So what I'm doing is catching that little bit of a curve I'm making down in the wood, and that's the cutting edge. And you'll feel it catch. If it's sharp, it will dig into the wood, and that's when you know you're at the right angle to do this work. So if your card scraper's sharp, you're going to get little shavings and curlicues on the wood. If it's not sharpened enough, you'll see sawdust, and you'll know you'll have to go back and sharpen it more. So the card scraper is like a plane, and it cuts the wood. You know, sandpaper is basically just scratching the wood at different degrees, and you don't see it because it's blending with the grain. But you get a much smoother finish with a card scraper because it's actually cutting the fibers of the wood, and you can feel it. You'll see it has kind of a glassy feel, and it looks smooth and shiny.